Desagüe, Mexico City's drainage channel. The Spaniards built Mexico City on the top of the ruins of the Aztec capital Tenochtitlan, all of which was built on a lake. One result of this was periodic flooding. A drainage channel called a desagüe, designed by a German engineer, was approved in 1607. The next year, 40,000 workers dug 14 miles of channels, including a 4-mile, 175-foot deep tunnel. It was one of the greatest engineering projects in all of colonial Spanish America. The system had flaws. The tunnel was too narrow, its walls poorly shored, and it was not well maintained. And it failed to prevent the terrible 5-year flood of Mexico City starting in 1629. Modifications continued until project completion in the late 1800s. Cochineal dye. Along with silver, cochineal dye was a main source of revenue in New Spain. Thousands of years ago, Mesoamericans discovered that pinching an insect found on prickly pear cacti yielded a blood-red stain on fingers and fabric. The tiny creature, a parasitic scale insect known as cochineal, was transformed into a precious commodity. Breeders in Mexico's southern highlands began cultivating cochineal, selecting for both quality and color over many generations. Once there was a color so valuable that emperors and conquistadors coveted it, and so did kings and cardinals. Artists went wild over it. Pirates ransacked ships for it. Scientists vied with each other to probe its mysteries. Desperate men even risked their lives to obtain it. This highly prized commodity was the secret to the color of desire, a tiny dried insect that produced the perfect red. The Mexican Inquisition. The Mexican Inquisition was an extension of the Spanish Inquisition into the New World. The Spanish conquest of Mexico was not only a political event for the Spanish, but a religious event as well. When the Inquisition was brought to the New World, it was employed for many of the same reasons and against the same social groups as suffered in Europe itself, minus the Indians to a large extent. The official period of the Inquisition lasted from 1571 to 1820, with an unknown number of victims. Biombos, folding screen murals. Elite Spaniards and Creoles decorated their homes and adorned their bodies with stunning examples of East Asian textiles and manufactured goods. Soon, local artists were inspired to create their own versions of Asian goods or to inject East Asian styles and motifs into their work. The influence of Asian art is particularly evident in viceregal textiles, ceramics, and furniture. Some examples are the resplendent biombos, or folding screens, made in Mexico beginning in the 17th century. The Columbian Exchange. There is little doubt that the arrival of Columbus in the Caribbean set off a chain of events that resulted in what is known by academics as the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange is the largest exchange of flora and fauna between continents since the Bering Land Bridge connected America to the rest of the world during the last ice age. This event altered our dinner tables forever. The spicy foods of Asia and Africa were a result of chiles returning to Europe and rapidly spreading to European colonies throughout the world. Pigs and cows were introduced to the Americas by Columbus's ships and quickly became a part of the American cuisine. Cocoa from the New World, sugar and milk from the Old World had not met prior to the coming together of these worlds, but where would we be without hot chocolate? Batopilas, Chihuahua, Mexico. The origin of Batopilas dates back to 1632, when a band of explorers found rich veins of silver, zinc, and gold in this inhospitable corner. Then, the land attracted the gaze of prominent businessmen such as Alexander Shepard. The magnate made Batopilas shine and become one of the most important mining cities in the world. He built a school, a hospital, and the Hacienda de San Miguel, part of whose ruins can be seen when walking along the slope of the Batopilas River, whose meaning translates as Rio Encajonado or Boxed River. The Black Christ of Chalma. The year was 1537, and the place was near the modern village of Chalma in the state of Mexico. Two friars entered a cave and approached a mysterious figure. It was a large black cylindrical monolith, a carved likeness of Tezcatlipoca, an Aztec god, about the size of a man. The two Europeans felt somewhat afraid, as if they were making first contact with an alien or demonic presence. The brothers left the cave and returned to their monastery nearby to regroup and formulate a plan. After they returned to the cave, the two friars fell to their knees when they saw the sight. In the place of the pagan black monolith was a crucifix. On the crucifix was a black rendition of Jesus. Nothing remained of the life-size idol except for fine shards and rubble around the large crucifix. The Augustinian brothers believed they had witnessed a miracle and now had their powerful tool to convert the Indians. As the second most visited religious site in Mexico, Chalma receives over 2 million visitors each year. Bernardo de Galvez. Early in 1785, he was appointed Viceroy of New Spain. He became endeared to the people of Mexico City by opening up not only the resources of the government, but also his personal fortune to help the populace through the difficult times. Two of his main achievements as Viceroy were the start of the reconstruction of the Castle of Chapultepec, today a showplace for the Mexican nation, and the completion of the Cathedral of Mexico, the largest cathedral in the Western Hemisphere. Before Spain entered the American Revolutionary War, Galvez did much to aid the American patriots. Galvez helped draft the terms of the treaty that ended the war and was cited by the American Congress for his aid during the conflict. Galveston, Texas, by the way, is named for him. The diminutive form in Mexico. Mexicans are known for their prolific use of the diminutive form of words. Table becomes little table, car becomes little car, favor becomes little favor, and so on. But why? According to Davila Garivi, this excessive use of the diminutive, unparalleled in other countries, stems from cultural exchange during the early years of New Spain. About it, he mentions, the use of the diminutive in Mexico is something like daily bread. Why? Undoubtedly, I believe, due to the influence of Nahuatl, in other words, Aztec, in which the diminutive is used so profusely and that the Spanish conquerors necessarily had to speak it to communicate with the Indians. Mexican Churrigueresque. The Mexican Baroque period found its way to Mexico with the Spanish immigrants, and in concert with the indigenous artists, architecture, sculpting, and painting flourished. The wealthiest province of New Spain, Mexico, produced extravagant architecture known as Mexican Churrigueresque, ultra Baroque. The ornamentation, use of bright, vivid colored tile and gold leaf against the white interior stucco, moved Mexican Baroque in a new direction. The focus on filling in all the space was the signature differentiating Mexico's style from European style. An example of Mexican Churrigueresque is on this image, which is the Santa Prisa Temple in Taxco, Mexico.